Kenny Bodanis, parenting author in our BT studios, talking about the bad influence. What do you do when your kid starts hanging out with another kid and you're not too sure about that one?
Sketchy.
Kenny? Sketchy.
Sketchy friends. What
Kenny?
to do with the sketchy friends.
So much to get to. We're going to get right into it.
Okay,
Number one rule, do not ban the friend outright, because to me that's like forbidden fruit, right?
Exactly. The person's obviously developed a bond with their child, and as every parent knows, going up to your child and saying you cannot see this person anymore.
Yeah.
It will instantly rebel and most likely just push your friend closer to the bad influence.
Yeah, because they're going to form a team against the parents.
Exactly.
And then you say, talk to your child privately about this, not in front of other people.
Right. You want to try, if you can find out what attracts them to that other friend. Why do they like them? Is it because they're into some music that you're unaware of? Is it because they're into some game that you're unaware of, video game or otherwise? And if you can find out a little bit of that information, you can be a part of that. You know, listen to the music. Check out the game, check out the TV show, what's it all about? And the more information you have, you can now engage your child in conversation about that. Oh, I heard this song, this is really interesting. The more you can passively get your child to open up, the more you become part of the circle and have a little more control over what's going on.
Find out what's going on with that other kid.
Exactly.
The sketchy kid.
That's
all right,
right,
you also say control your household rules. So when this other child, the bad influence, is in your house, are you allowed to put your rules on this other child?
100%. This, I think, is the most important thing you can do, is try to control the environment. So if your kid is always, can I go over to Bobby's? Can I go over to Bobby's? We'll say, why don't you invite Bobby here? And once they're in your houses, A, you can overhear what's going on for yourself, so you have real insight and not sort of secondhand information. And B, house rules. In your house, excuse me, we don't use language like that.
But okay, see, I was looking at your notes on this. So the kids in your house, and you're saying that doesn't happen, we don't use the rules, and if this is a bad influence, presumably they'll be like, you can't tell me what to do?
Well, then you can ask them to leave. And nobody likes being embarrassed.
There you go.
Right? Excuse me, I don't mind what you're doing, but we don't use that language here. Well, you can play the game, but you don't give it 20 minutes, and then I'd like you to go do something else. And they say, well, your mom's really nasty. Let it go. But at least you could hear, you can overhear, you control a little bit more. And when dinner time comes around, thanks for coming over, Bobby, but it's supper time.
The bus is going that way, Bobby.
Exactly.
Last resort, you say threaten to ban the friend outright. So if you've tried everything,
right,
then you can banish the child.
Right, but do it specifically. Say, listen, I don't like that when you're with him or her, you do this, this, and that. If it continues, I'm going to have to ask you to stop seeing them.
But then follow through, though.
And then you do have to follow through, which is tough. Especially the older your child gets, that is very, very tough. But even just letting your child know what it is that you don't approve of wakes it up. You know, it gives them a little bit of a wake-up call and makes them aware of their own behavior and lets them know that you're aware of it and what you care.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, we have to know when to really be worried, when to really be concerned. When should someone, as a parent, when should you say, okay, this is too much now?
Well, it's like with most things when the behavior becomes harmful. I'm paraphrasing Laura Kastner, who's a PhD and a clinical psychologist, and she says, gauge your own anxiety, because often these relationships, even the bad influences, are the way that your child develops their moral compass.
Right.
And without the bad influences and seeing what else is out there, it's hard for them to gauge what is right. And it also opens a dialogue between you and your child to let them know what your expectations are.
But to me, that's a fine line, right? Because on the process of learning or adjusting your moral compass, you don't want them to fall into sort of
exactly.
Bad phase.
Is the behavior becoming harmful? Are they being hurt? Are they engaging in harmful activity, drinking, smoking, drugs? Those are the red flags. But if they're out half an hour past their curfew and some of the language is slipping and there are things that can be corrected without creating rebellion, then try as much as possible to say, okay, is this just a phase? Am I overreacting? Did I go through this when I was 15?
Right.
And you fight the battles, you can win.
And if worst comes to worst, you send her to the nunnery. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, Kenny Bodanis, parenting. To the nunnery with you. Kenny Bodanis, parenting author.